We left off in the last unit, briefly discussing John Adams' presidency and with the election of 1800. Thomas Jefferson tied with Aaron Burr for president. After 36 votes in the House of Representatives, because they too kept tying, Hamilton swayed the vote in favor of Jefferson. This was quite unexpected, since we know how much the two didn't get along. However, Alexander Hamilton had a long-standing feud with Aaron Burr. This was a personal feud between the two men that will eventually be dealt with in a duel.
Who would have ever guessed that our vice president, under Thomas Jefferson, would be involved with a duel? It's very true. On July 11th, 1804, Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton held their duel in Weehawken, New Jersey. Both men fired. However, some sources say Hamilton simply fired into the sky, believing this was just to go through the motions. However, Burr's shot hit Hamilton, mortally wounding him. So let us summarize for you. Our vice president just committed murder. He will be wanted in the state of New Jersey for the murder of Alexander Hamilton. So in case you're wondering why Alexander Hamilton never became a future president, this is why.
Jefferson will be followed by James Madison and James Monroe. Their policies were very similar, which is why their presidencies combined are referred to as the Jeffersonian era. This period of time is one of the most exciting in history. Our country will double in size. We will face Britain in war for a second time, plus much, much more.
Okay, well, I don't know why that's doing that, but... Answer the questions to the right of this slide in your notes.
When the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can go on, pretending day by day, because I know somewhere soon we can change. We all a part of God's great big family. And the truth, you know, love is all we need. Beyond the world, beyond the children, beyond the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start here. Or something. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me. Well, send them your heart, so they know that someone cares.
Jefferson's approach to the presidency was very casual.
Oh, the blanks.
Oh, we can just leave it.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. You get a bonus this time. We didn't put blanks in. You lucky people. All right, so Jefferson's approach to the presidency was really casual, starting with his inauguration. He wore his everyday clothes and walked instead of taking a fancy carriage. He felt there was no real need to spend excessive government money on his ceremony. This was extremely different from Adams and Washington. His election also marked the first peaceful change between political parties.
Jefferson wanted to make the government more simple, more efficient, more democratic. So in other words, less power for the national government. He felt instead that the country should be left to run itself with little government interference. Remember, Democratic Republicans were supporters of states' rights.
When a president takes office, he has many positions to fill. Usually people from the last administration will leave with the last president or will be fired so that the new president can replace them with his own people.
I really admire Jefferson's approach to his presidency. Instead of firing every Federalist from his office, as he had a right to do, he felt it was important for a smooth transition to keep some experienced workers. Believe it or not, Jefferson also kept the Bank of the U.S. He realized the importance and true need of the bank.
Okay, I just want to add something here. I think that really shows his character. Instead of coming in and saying, I am a Democratic Republican and this is how I'm going to do things and this is my administration and I'm going to change everything, he really looked at things and things that were working, he did not change them. I'm really impressed with that. So as part of his simplification of government, Jefferson cut government spending. One such way was reducing the size of the military. He also cut taxes. Since the government wasn't spending as much money, there wasn't a need for so many taxes. The whiskey tax was on these taxes that he cut. Oh, I'm sorry. It was one of these taxes that he cut. I'm sorry, on my page it said was on. So I just read what I said.
Until the Alien and Sedition Acts could be officially repealed by Congress, Jefferson suspended all prosecutions of crime under these acts. In other words, you wouldn't get in trouble for disobeying the Alien or Sedition Acts. To help out as well, he convinced Congress to allow immigrants to become citizens faster. This was extremely important considering that immigration was growing exponentially. Jefferson sang that song to some of the Federalists about why we can't be friends. It's also kind of what he meant with this quote, in case you didn't catch that on this last page. We are all Republicans, we are all Federalists. Let us then, with courage and confidence, pursue our attachment to union and representative government. Again, pointing out that character that Mr. Rowe was talking about. He really wanted people to be able to work together and focus on the need of America, not the political parties.
Okay, what I'd like you to do next to this slide is I'd like you to answer this question. What group of immigrants were immigrating to the United States at this time? So tell me what country they're coming from and why they're coming. You might have to look up this information, but we'll be looking for the answer when we grade your flipped classroom.
One of the first major events of the Jefferson era began right after Jefferson and his cabinet took office. Remember, presidents have the power to appoint federal judges, and John Adams did just that. However, he did this at the last possible hour of his presidency. Since he knew a Democratic-Republican president was about to take office, he wanted to fill every possible vacant seat with a Federalist. It was very common for a president to make last-minute appointments like this.
Remember, when a judge is appointed, they're appointed for life. So even when Jefferson came in, he couldn't overturn these appointments that Adams had made. So Adams knew that he was putting judges in place that would be there for a very long time. The judges that Adams appointed at this last hour became known as the Midnight Judges. Adams finished all paperwork for these judges. However, the judges themselves did not have the actual paperwork. Dun, dun, dun.
As everyone takes office, the discovery of the last-minute appointments of the Midnight Judges' paperwork is discovered. President Jefferson orders Secretary of State James Madison not to hand over paperwork. He feels that this was a part of Adams' job, and therefore, those judges don't get the jobs, and he can instead replace them with his own selections.
This really shows Jefferson's dislike of John Adams. He was more than willing to work with other Federalists, but in this situation, he is adamant that these men not get their jobs. Can you think of any reason why Jefferson might have felt so strongly about these judges not getting their jobs? Think about how long a term a Supreme Court justice serves for. Yeah, I already said this, right? For life. So these judges will influence policy for years to come and for several presidential terms. Jefferson wanted to make sure Democratic Republicans filled these spots.
Now, Marbury is one of these judges who is affected by Jefferson's decisions. He decides to take his case to the Supreme Court. He sues James Madison for refusing to give him his paperwork. Marbury demands that the Supreme Court force Jefferson and Madison to give him his job, and he claims that the Judiciary Act gives the Supreme Court this power. Remember, the Judiciary Act was passed during Washington's presidency to set up the court system. Okay, my soundbite's not going to work, but this is Marbury and Madison fighting it out, and just pretend there's punching noises there.
All right. Okay. Really?
Yeah, there's supposed to be something here.
What's it supposed to say?
Unconstitutional or something.
So write that in. Right here on the desk. Unconstitutional. John Marshall agrees to hear the case. Remember the case, Marbury versus Madison? Jefferson was very upset as he didn't really think it was right for the Supreme Court to get involved. And he and Marshall had never seen eye to eye. Marshall was a Federalist, which Jefferson thought would sway him towards Marbury's side. However, he was incorrect.
Marshall and the other justices agree with Marbury that he was treated unfairly, and they agree that the Judiciary Act grants them the power to force Jefferson's and Madison's hands. However, the Supreme Court said that the Judiciary Act is unconstitutional.
What?
What, you say? You've lost me. Okay, let's take this step by step. In the Judiciary Act, Congress granted the Supreme Court the power to force the executive branch to do different things. So they actually gave a power to the Supreme Court.
But the Supreme Court ruled that Congress doesn't have the right to grant powers not already stated in the Constitution. Therefore, the Judiciary Act is illegal since it goes against the Constitution. Because of this, they cannot force Jefferson and Madison to hand Marbury his hiring papers. So Marbury loses the fight.
However, Marbury versus Madison marked a significant ruling for the Supreme Court. You see, by ruling the Judiciary Act unconstitutional, the Supreme Court defined its power of judicial review, the ability to declare laws unconstitutional. So even though it seems like the court gave up power by giving up the Judiciary Act, it actually gained power by defining its right of judicial review.
Now, any law that comes before the Supreme Court. So, one more time, let's review. The Supreme Court case of Marbury versus Madison is extremely important because the Supreme Court defined the power to declare laws unconstitutional or illegal. Now, here's a side note for you. When Congress passes a law, the Supreme Court can't automatically step in and declare it unconstitutional. It has to be presented to them in a court case. In other words, someone else has to bring it in front of the court. Like right now, many states are trying to build a case that the health care bill passed by President Obama is unconstitutional. They would like for the Supreme Court to rule on it. However, the Supreme Court has not agreed to hear the case.
When you hear Marbury versus Madison, think judicial review. The court can declare laws unconstitutional.
I promise to